Hey, well, good evening, friends. Mark Holmes here. Hold on one second. Had to turn on the lights. What a different, not that it makes me look better, but it makes at least the atmosphere look a little bit better. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Okay. All right. You need the light for the set. Forgot to turn it on. And you can see I'm actually sweating, and what a difference a day makes, because yesterday when I was out here, I was freezing my ass off. Ass, as Philly 500 would say, ass. Anyway, we have some news for Sunday. Randy Gregory and De-Law are listed as questionable for Sunday. Both of them have missed practice, apparently with flu-like symptoms, but they say they are not COVID. Now, I got to tell you, you've seen me sneeze a couple of times, and I've been working, and you see I've been sweating. I've been sweating and all that, but honey, take my temperature. Take my temperature, and I still have a sense of smell. So I think I'm good. At least I think I'm good. So, but I'm going to keep watching it, and I'm going to stay away from everybody else just in case, because you never know. So many people are coming down with COVID. It's getting to be kind of crazy. But anyway, the two of them are listed as questionable, but are expected to play. However, with the whole COVID deal, we remember a tight end from the Steelers had flu-like symptoms, and he came to Dallas, and then all of a sudden, for the first time all season, we got people in the COVID protocol. Yeah. So it may be one of those things where the NFL says, better safe than sorry. Sit your ass down. So we'll have to wait till Sunday to find that one out. But in other news, this is great news if you're a Dak Prescott fan. If you're a Dak hater, not so much. Well, Stephen Jones, who says player acquisition is a 365-day-a-year job. So that means he's saying there ain't no days off when you're thinking about building a team. Well, he seemed like he was excited, in fact, kind of giddy on 105 The Fan today, talking about one Dak Prescott. He said, and I quote, he has been getting amazing reports about one Dak Prescott and his recovery. In fact, because he's actually there to start, in fact, he is way ahead of schedule. Because originally they were saying 4 to 6 months, which would put the beginning of the time period for the recover in February, right around the Super Bowl, to March or April. And this is actually kind of key for a couple of reasons here. Because I know a lot of you guys will say, man, the tank for Trevor Lawrence. Well, right now we're sitting at 5. I think we're actually going to win a couple of games. I actually think we're going to. I'm not sure that we'd be anywhere close to Trevor, that in order to get Trevor, we would have to basically mortgage the future and try and move up to get him. And in my mind, take a look at Joe Burrow, number one guy last year. Joe Burrow, as good as he's been, they still have the same number of wins that they had last year right now, too. He's not taking that team to the Super Bowl, at least not the first year. Where you could look at this team and say, Tyron Smith, we might get one more year out of him. Lyle Collins and gang. We've got all these draft picks and stuff that, maybe next year, and I'm going to say for a couple of reasons. Here's my craziness. If you want to say I'm crazy, if I were Stephen Jones and Will McClay and Jerry Jones, this is how I would approach this season coming up. Okay? This is how I would approach it. If Dak is back 100%, if we end up with, top 10 picks, okay, that means our second round pick would be top 40, which is great. We go through and we get the best defensive players in the first 2 rounds that we can get to help out that defense. I'm serious. If it's an edge rusher, okay, great. If we can trade back, turn into more picks, great. If we can get a safety, a cornerback, another, defensive lineman that's a beast, hey, I'm all for it. If we can go ahead and get some more depth on the offensive line and backups to make sure that if we go from, Tyron Smith, we're not going to Terrence Steele. I'm looking at next year because of a couple reasons. Here's what's going to happen. The salary cap may drop. It may drop, seriously, to 175. That's the floor. That's the worst case scenario, which means there's teams like, I don't know, the Eagles. Not that you want anything from the Eagles because they're trash. They're trash. But the Eagles, as much as Philly 500 used to pat Howie Roseman on the back and things, Howie Roseman has actually made a mess of their salary cap situation. They have tied up $263 million for next year. Now, they do have about $27 million in, that they can roll over to next year, which will help. That'll reduce it some. But you still are going to have to get down to 175. So they have a team of aging players, Jason Peters and Deshaun Jacksons and things that aren't paying dividends, that are sucking up the salary cap. And they can't get rid of Carson Wentz because he'd be too big of a salary cap head. And so a team like that is going to literally have to gut the team, the roster. But they're not the only ones. You can look at the New Orleans Saints, because the New Orleans Saints, I think, have $250 million. You can look at the Atlanta Falcons, another team that's way up there, I think like $245. So there's going to be teams out there that are going to be chopping down the rosters because everybody's got to get to that 175 if it ends up being there. So guess what that means? Do you know what that means? That means teams won't have a lot of money to put into free agency. See, this is why the NFLPA was trying to keep that hit to being as low as possible, because it's all about supply and demand. You may see a lot of great players that are out there that you want for your team, but how much for a rib? How much for a rib? Just one rib. Teams won't have a whole lot of money to spend in free agency, which may depress the market, which means there's a lot of guys that are going to be out there that aren't going to be able to find gigs. And guess what? Guess what that means? That means if you kick back and you wait a little bit and these guys aren't getting these mega deals, it's like musical chairs. They're looking and saying, damn, ain't nobody getting signed. The prices will go down on some of these free agents. You look at next year. If it ends up being we stay in the basement, 4th place schedule, high draft picks, a depressed free agent market, you load this roster up like you did the 90s. We're going to have more draft capital than we've had since 1992, I think it was. More picks. And we may even have the opportunity to turn that into even more picks if we're a top 5 team. Now, that's one of the reasons why you look at it and saying, it'd be nice to win the division and have those bragging rights to see our team get their ass kicked in the playoffs. But if I'm looking at next year, excuse me, if I'm still here for next year, I'm looking and saying, I'm all in next year. And I get creative. And the first thing you do is you get Dak Prescott's deal done. And I know you jackasses out there will say, it's only because you like Dak Prescott. You don't like the Dallas Cowboys. Dude, stop that shit. Just listen. Get it through your hard head, okay? Understand what I'm trying to tell you is this. That franchise tag is a hard number. $37 million. You got $28 million right now. It's a hard number. Get that deal done because you know what's going to happen at the end of next year. The end of next year, the television contract's up, dudes. The television contract. That's where teams will get to renegotiate what they're getting from the television companies. Understand this. ESPN wants to have a Super Bowl. they want to have a Super Bowl. Okay? Understand, YouTube is already paying the NFL to have Red Zone and the NFL Network on YouTube. On YouTube. They're paying for that. In which case, that if you're a subscriber on YouTube, you get that included. You don't think that YouTube would like to have Thursday Night Football for their subscribers? You don't think that? You don't think that they're willing to spend a whole bunch of money to try and get that? You don't think that Yahoo Sports would like to get NFL football? Somebody's going to be blowing the roof off the sucker. And DirecTV, do you really think that they got the monopoly on it? Because there's a lot of people out there that don't really want satellite TV. You don't think that Verizon might say, you know what? Let's get the Sunday ticket for Verizon. We got it on the mobile app. We've got it for Verizon TV. The television contract is going to go through the roof, especially if the pandemic is still going on, bro. Because if they're not able to go to and watch it at the stadium, they're watching it on TV. So, knowing that, you can make Dak's contract that first year real team friendly. You could make it so friendly that literally it's like $15 million. And basically, it's like doing a balloon mortgage for a house. The first couple of years, you pay it real low. By the second year, that payment gets skyrocketed. And that's when you try and go ahead and say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get another mortgage company to go ahead and take it up because it's appreciated. I can go ahead and make a better deal and reduce those payments. It buys you time. And then you look at it and say, we got Amari Cooper here. One more year, right? And then you can let him go, right? You got Amari Cooper. You look at Tyron Smith. You know, you don't know how much he's going to have, but, you know, maybe next year is the last year you got Tyron Smith. Okay, you're right. So you want to take advantage of that. Maybe you end up drafting the heir apparent for Tyron Smith who becomes a swing tackle. You got money in the bank. You do these things because you know the Eagles are getting flushed next year. The Washington football team, do they really believe in Alex Smith as a guy? And are you really sold on Danny Downs? Although the Giants have made some plays. They have made some moves and are beginning to trend upward, but in the end, they still don't have a record as bad as they've had the last couple of years. You can own the NFC East if you're smart. All right, y'all. I hope you tune in tonight for our live stream because you know I'm going to be, you know we're going to be here. And we're going to go into this in more detail on how we go ahead and get a juggernaut for next year. All right. See you at 9.